America is a wide and vast country filled with people, most importantly stories. The stories that linger in the town spread as well as the people did. Welcome to Strange States of America.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Strange States of America. Before we embark on our journey, make sure you have packed properly, that you got a wide-brimmed hat, sunscreen, and shorts because we are going to Arizona. Arizona is a state in the southwestern United States. It is the 6th largest and the 14th most populous of the 50 states. Its capital and largest city is Phoenix, Arizona. Arizona is part of the Four Corners region, with Utah to the north, Colorado to the northeast, and New Mexico to the east. Its other neighboring states are Nevada to the northwest, California to the west, and the Mexican states of Sonora and Baja California to the south and southwest. Arizona is the 48th state and last of the contiguous states to be admitted to the Union, achieving statehood on February 14, 1912. Historically part of the territory of Alta California and New Spain, it became part of the independent Mexico in 1821. After being defeated in the Mexican-American War, Mexico ceded much of this territory to the United States in 1848. The southernmost portion of the state was acquired in 1853 through the Gadsden Purchase. As I researched this episode, I realized that Arizona might be the most haunted and paranormal active state in the Union so far. With that said, let's dive right in. How about a story of a hidden fortune of gold? The Lost Dutchman's gold mine is, according to legend, a rich gold mine hidden in the southwestern United States. The location is generally believed to be in the Superstition Mountains, near Apache Junction, east of Phoenix. There have been many stories about how to find the mine, and each year people search for the mine, while some have died on the search. The mine is named after German immigrant Jacob, with the K, Waltz, who lived from 1810 to 1891, who purportedly discovered it in the 19th century and kept its location a secret. Dutchman was a common American term for a German, Dutch being the English cognate to the German demonym Deutsch, and not a reference to the Dutch people, which explains why the use of Dutch is so widespread in stories media. Example is the Flying Dutchman from SpongeBob. Yes, I just quoted SpongeBob. The Lost Dutchman's mine is perhaps the most famous lost mine in American history. Arizona place name expert Bert Granger wrote, as of 1977, the Lost Dutchman story had been printed or cited at least 6 times more often than two other fairly well-known tales. The story of Captain Kidd's Captain Kidd's Lost Treasure and the story of the lost Peg Leg Mine in California. People have been seeking the lost Dutchman's mine since at least 1892. Well, according to one estimate, 9,000 people annually made some effort to locate the lost Dutchman's mine. Former Arizona Attorney General Robert K. Corbin is among those who have looked for the mine. Robert Blair wrote, "There have been at least 4 legendary lost Dutchman's mines in the American West, including the famed Superstition Mine of Jacob Waltz. One lost Dutchman's mine is said to be in Colorado, another is in California. 2 are said to be located in Arizona. Tales of these other lost Dutchman's mines can be traced to at least the 1870s. The earliest lost Dutchman's mine in Arizona was said to have been near Wickenburg, about 100 kilometers or 110 miles northwest of the Superstition Mountains. A Dutchman was allegedly discovered dead in the desert near Wickenburg in the 1870s, along saddlebags filled with gold. Blair suggested that fragments of this legend have perhaps become attached to the mythical mine of Jacob Waltz. Granger wrote that fact and fiction blend in the tales, but that there are 3 main elements to the story. They are: first, tales of the lost Apache gold or Dr. Thorne's mine; second, tales about the lost Dutchman's; and third, stories of the soldier's lost gold vein. The most complete version of the lost Dutchman story incorporates all 3 legends. Blair argued that there are kernels of truth at the heart of each of these 3 main stories, though the popular story is often badly garbled from the actual account. Other theories have materialized that speculate that the mine is buried at the bottom of the Apache or Roosevelt Lake. The tale of the lost Dutchman involves 2 German men, Jacob Waltz and Jacob Weiser. However, Blair argued that there is a strong likelihood that there never was a second man named Weiser, but rather that a single person named Waltz was, over the years, turned into 2 men as the legend of the Dutchman's mine evolved. Blair contended that the story can be divided into hawk and dove versions, depending on whether the Germans are said to behave violently or peaceful. In most versions of the tale, Jacob Waltz locates a rich gold mine in the Superstition Mountains. In many versions of the story, they rescue or help a member of the Peralta family, and are rewarded by being told the location of the mine. Waltz is attacked and wounded by marauding Apaches. Sorry, something in my mouth. Giggity. But survives at least long enough to tell a man named Dr. Walker about the mine. Waltz is said to make a deathbed confession to Julia Thomas, and draws and describes a crude map to the gold mine. John D. Woolburn, in his book Dutchman's Lost Ledge of Gold, written in 1990, wrote that the Bulldog Gold Mine near Goldfield, Arizona fits very well the description Jacob Waltz gave as the location of his lost mine. Furthermore, Wilburn stated that the geology indicates that there is no gold in the Superstition Mountains, which are igneous in origin. However, in some versions, the mine is actually cached, put there by the Peraltas. In 1977, Geringer identified 62 variants of the Lost Dutchman story. Some of the variations are minor, but others are substantial, casting the story in a very different light from the other versions. Some say 600 people have died in search of this gold, and many have gone missing. The Apache believe in these mountains lay a hole that led straight to hell. In 2011, a father and his 3 children crashed their plane and died on the summit. There are many versions of the story floating around the local areas and the internet. I could probably make an entire episode out of just these. Going back to what I said earlier in this episode about Arizona being possibly the most paranormal active state, there is nearly 300 ghost towns that remain standing in Arizona. The most famous of these ghost towns is Tombstone. Tombstone is a city in Conkins County, Arizona, founded in 1879 by prospector Ed Shufflin in what was the then Pima County, Arizona territory. It became one of the last boom towns in the American frontier. The town grew significantly into the mid-1800s as the local mines produced $40 to $85 million in silver bullion, the largest productive silver district in Arizona. Its population grew from 100 to around 14,000 in less than 7 years. That's a hell of a growth. It is best known as the site of the gunfight at the OK Corral. It presently draws most of its revenue from tourism. The town was established on Goose Flats, a mesa above the Goodenough mine. Within 2 years of its founding, although far distant from any other metropolitan area, Tombstone had a bowling alley, 4 churches, an ice house, a school, 2 banks, 3 newspapers, and an ice cream parlor, alongside 110 saloons, 14 gambling halls, and numerous dance halls and brothels. You don't know what that is. That's excuse my French, it's a whorehouse, where ladies of the night, did business. We all know what that is. All of these businesses were situated among and atop many silver mines. The gentlemen and ladies of Tombstone attended operas presented by visiting acting troupes at the Shufflin Hall Opera House, while the miners and cowboys saw shows at the Birdcage Theater and Brothel. One particular location located inside that town is Big Nose Kate's Saloon. Mary Catherine Horny Cummings lived from November 7th, 1850 to November the 2nd, 1940. Popularly known as Big Nose Kate, was a Hungarian-born American outlaw, gambler, prostitute, and longtime companion and common-law wife of Old West gambler and gunfighter Doc Holliday. Tough, stubborn, and fearless, she was educated but chose to work as a prostitute due to the independence it provided her. She was the only woman with whom Holliday is known to have had a relationship with. The 20th Century Saloon is an oddball in the town, too tough to die. Big Nose Kate never stepped foot in the establishment, and the resident specter is a far cry from Doc Holliday. Tunnels, treasure troves, the handyman of the Grand Hotel. Although this establishment was never owned by Big Nose Kate, it occupies the former site of the Grand Hotel. It is said to be haunted by the ghost of a handyman. The poltergeist of Big Nose Kate's is no gunslinging specter. Instead, the establishment is stalked by the Grand Hotel's handyman, the Swamper. Swamper was a handyman for the Grand Hotel, the former establishment of the location. He was friendly, though reclusive man who inhabited a small room in the basement. Curiously, no one was allowed in his bedroom. No one thought to ask why. Perhaps they wanted to give the Swamper his space and privacy. One witness who kept a room close to Swamper alleged that he was a treasure hunter. Yet Swamper didn't scrounge the city for gold. Instead, he dug shafts within the safety of his room. He believed that the treasure was buried beneath his feet, digging day and night. Some testify that Swamper found his treasure but didn't know how to sneak it out of his hidey hole. Relocating the cache would involve walking past the downstairs bar in the upstairs hotel. His secrecy would be jeopardized. He'd have to keep his treasures in his tunnels, where locals say they remain today. Although employees discovered Swamper's tunnels after his death, they were never able to find his treasure. The tubes were even traced to the abandoned shafts of Tough Nut Mine, yet were discovered vacant. During one expedition, excavators heard loud moaning once they approached Swamper's space. They even heard footsteps upon the staircase, leading them to think that someone had entered the building. They immediately searched the premises once they emerged above ground, but found the building abandoned. The doors were still locked. Was this Swamper anxious that the excavators had discovered his treasure? Although they didn't find Swamper's silver, perhaps he feared they'd come too close for comfort. Locals and tourists alike have experienced paranormal activity within the saloon. One employee felt cold, clammy hands around her throat. Another spotted spectral guests like the spirits of soiled doves and saddle burns. Other witness phantom cowboys standing in the staircase or knocking over cases of beer in the basement. Crazy stuff, man. Let's leave behind our ghostly friends and talk about a famous UFO sighting. The Phoenix Lights, or sometimes also called the Lights over Phoenix, were a series of widely sighted unidentified flying objects observed in the skies over the southwestern states of Arizona and Nevada on March 13, 1997. Lights of varying descriptions were seen by thousands of people between 7:30 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. MST, Mountain Standard Time, in a space of about 300 miles from the Nevada line through Phoenix to the edge of Tucson. Some witnesses described seeing what appearing to be a large carpenter square-shaped UFO containing I have a problem with S words. Spherical lights. There were two distinct events involved in the incident. A triangular formation of lights seen to pass over the state, and a series of stationary lights seen in the Phoenix area. Both sightings were supposedly due to aircraft participating in Operation Snowbird, a pilot training program of the Air National Guard based in Davis, Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. The first group of lights were later identified as a formation of an A-10 Thunderbolt II aircraft flying over Phoenix while returning to Davis, Monthan. I don't believe either one of these explanations. It's just too convenient. The second group of lights were identified as illumination flares dropped by another flight of A-10 aircraft that were on training exercises at the Berry Goldwater Range in southwest Arizona. Fife Symington, governor of Arizona at the time, years later recounted witnessing the incident, describing it as otherworldly. I mean, the governor fucking saw it and described it. Come on now. I mean, just because y'all identify, and that's in fucking quotation, does not mean that's the explanation. Because why would you be constantly flying? Yeah, you're located near an airbase, but why would you constantly fly training exercises, dropping flares over fucking residential areas? I mean, I get it, you gotta train, but wouldn't you do that in the middle of the fucking desert to avoid something like that? Come on now. Reports of similar lights arose in 2007 and 2008 were attributed to military flares dropped by fighter aircraft at Luke Air Force Base, and flares attached to helium balloons were released by a civilian respectively. That's kind of weird that you would explain it like that, but that's alright. Keep covering it up. Although many tried to explain away the lights, we may never know what they really were. Like the states in the episodes before this one, Arizona has many more stories. Not states, stories. Probably enough to make a couple episodes, but we got to keep moving on. And next state we're visiting is Arkansas. Until next time, this has been Strange States of America. This show is produced by me, researched by me, written by me. Yeah. The opening theme was provided by V. Dragunov through Upbeat.io.